Hey guys, welcome to Spilling the Bubble Tea podcast. I'm Kennedy.
And I'm Sophie, and we're so excited to get to share with you guys today. With that said, let's get started.
Okay, since we're talking about de-influencing, I have one question I have to ask you before we start a very spicy episode.
Okay.
It is, what is one thing that you believe is overrated?
Fads. Trends that come and go, and they're like here for a week that everybody does, and they waste their money on and their time. Like, silly bands was one of them. Everybody bought them for like a month, and then nobody remembered them.
I feel like one for me for sure is one thing that people love the most, but it's Gen Z slang. Why do people use the word gas in order to say something's good? Like, my food is gas, or this burrito's gas. Like, that sounds gross. I think it's the other way around. I think the burrito gives you gas, not it is gas, but it really just sounds like we come up with gibberish. And we're like, oh yeah, this is so cool. My favorite is Heather. She's such a Heather. Like, what does that even mean? Okay, but actually though, I do like Karen.
Okay, yeah.
Karen is one I can actually use.
Alright, so we already talked about the things that are overrated, but now it's time to de-influence some stuff. So, first thing to de-influence is zodiac signs. What are your thoughts on zodiac signs?
Well, my number one is basically no. I don't really understand the purpose how that the stars determine what you wear for the day or how you act. I mean, it's more like I do understand where they're coming from in a way. Like, I understand like what they're doing, but it doesn't make sense biblically as a Christian. I see that. I mean, it's kind of clever that they determine the stars. They know every single star, and if you are a zodiac sign person, for some reason you know every single star, the moon, how the moon is positioned. Apparently, that affects your day. It's really weird. But nothing about zodiac signs line up with the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, what's the point? You can't determine whether or not you like someone if they're a Gemini, or if you can determine whether or not they're going to have a fight if they're an Aries or something.
Yeah. And I think my answer to that would also be like, no, don't do that. Just because, like, are we worshiping the creation or the creator? Like, if you're going to let the stars determine who you are, if you believe a lie long enough, you will fool yourself. And there's a quote out there. He said something along the lines of like, the biggest lie that people believe will be the lies that they tell themselves, and it will be the hardest thing to make them not believe because they have told themselves this lie for so long and now they believe it and now it's truth for them. And I think an example in the Bible of a God-fearing person who had to deal with these sort of things, for those of us who are not zodiac people, a good example would be Daniel. Daniel was a God-fearing man who had to deal with all sorts of astrologers and star readers and like magicians, and they would basically be the psychics and warlocks and stuff of that time, just different names, and we'll get into that later. But like, he had to deal with people telling him that this was the truth when really the only truth is the absolute truth, which is God's truth, and that should determine what you base your life on and what you're going to do. So like we've talked about it before, and like modesty, what does God say about you? These are the things, because he is your creator, that you should really put to mind.
I completely agree with the zodiac sign stuff, but to lighten the mood up some and have a real debate, what are your thoughts about designer brands?
Uh,
That doesn't seem like a good reaction.
so I'm not one for designer brands. My thought is that if you have to justify what you buy, you probably shouldn't be buying it. So, and more often than not, you can find the exact same thing for less. Or in my case, you can just go to Old Navy and find some cute clothes. Like, designer brands don't define your worth, what you do as a person does. So I'm not really worried about what goes into my closet. I'm more worried about what goes into my character.
That's harsh. See, I don't mind designer brands, some of them, but I do mind the price tag.
Mm.
So there's this little thing I like to call dupes, and it's basically just a $5 version of a $5,000 bag. Also, the things are so bizarre. Like those jumbo big red foam boots.
What?
The purpose of them, I don't really know. They don't look very. They wouldn't be good if you do track. They're not run proof. I think they're only for pictures.
The ones that look like Smurf shoes?
Basically.
Oh my gosh.
Um, Bags that have holes in them because,
And they're
distressed.
$11,000.
Distressed bags. If your jeans can have holes in them, so can your bags.
On a less lighter topic, what are your thoughts on New Age?
Um, well, the thing is with New Age is some things look very similar to Christianity, like
Mm-hmm.
some of their practices and stuff. But then other things, I just, I don't know. Like, there's no excuse for them, I guess. One thing though in Kings 17:38 is, "Do not forget the covenant I made for you, and do not worship any other gods." Well, there's a little like bad part about if you are a New Age believer, like,
Universe.
yeah, universe. Ooh, the power of a crystal.
Ew.
A rock can heal you. A rock will find love for you. Um, Manifesting is basically just you telling the universe what you want instead of praying to God about it.
Um, and I just think that if you compare New Age beliefs to Christianity and like satanic worship, you'll find a lot of similarities between both of them, but more so on the satanic worship side. Because if you really look it up and you really research it, you have spells, enchanted crystals, worshiping the universe, which again is creation versus creator, and manifesting, like you said, and like psychics talking to spirits. And the Bible clearly states, like, you can't talk to a spirit. The only spirit you should be talking to is the Holy Spirit. That's it. So if I like I would rather be caught dead than go to a psychic, anybody, and ask them to read a tarot card or whatever, because more often than not that's probably going to be the enemy or a demon or like an evil spirit, because it's not biblically based that God's angels and messengers are going to be in your tarot cards or be in your signs or be in your crystals. Like,
Yeah.
God doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I also would like to add that it's definitely, we have now that we have all this fun technology and stuff, we have definitely turned it from less scary to more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like carnivals or like having people who can see your future through a crystal ball,
Mm-hmm.
which really honestly most of them are just getting paid to do that. None of them actually know what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
if it even was a little bit real.
Yeah.
So you're getting your hope from a false source.
Yeah.
And then tarot card readings, people think, "Oh my goodness, this is so fun, let me just do it real fast, like
Mm-hmm.
they can see my future, when do I get married and stuff." But no, that's not how it works. A piece of paper cannot determine your life because she may or may not flip it over.
The only piece of paper that can determine your life is the Bible.
Yeah. Okay, so I know we're kind of like speeding through these topics. It's basically like we're in debate class, but on a much lighter note, since we may or may not be on people's bad sides, what are your thoughts about skincare? Because I feel like that's a very popular um thing nowadays. Especially like the clean girl, like she loves her skincare and all that. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts about it?
So, my aunt is a cosmetologist, and she's really the one with my mom to get me into skincare, but not because it's like glamorous and makes you look pretty, but because it's necessary. So my thoughts would just be find what works for you and not what looks best or what everyone else is buying.
Yeah.
Because in the words of my aunt, everybody's skin is different. Everybody has a different, I don't even know the actual terms, but like everyone's skin has like a different dryness level or oil level or like just the technical things that we have to deal with. Like acne is one thing. Um so I know that for me most of my products aren't like that expensive. Like I'll just find an SPF lotion that works great, um, that won't give me irritation, a cleanser that'll work great, that's not full of chemicals that will actually do its job. That's really it. Like I don't really give myself into or I don't buy into like face masks
Hmm.
or like I'll do it sometimes.
Just for fun,
Just for fun.
not for like, oh, the benefits of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays it's so popular to have skin that looks glowy and nice and dewy. But like honestly, if we're being completely honest, all of us at least have one pimple or
Mhm.
we all have acne or dark circles. It's impossible for a $5,000 cream to turn it over in one night.
Mhm.
So I feel like that, and especially like social media, they're like, "Oh my goodness, I bought this new thing. It's what is it, like Louis Vuitton lotion or Charlotte Tilbury," and I'm like, that is $50 worth of cream.
Wait, Louis Vuitton like the fashion?
I don't know. I was just naming things.
They're not cosmetologists at all.
Or Chanel skincare. I'm like, how did you go from designer bags to determine whether or not people have glowy skin?
Yeah.
Um, and also in a way, it brings down our self confidence when we see all these girls buying these crazy dollar price tag skincare items, and we're over here buying our $5 cleanser that works perfectly fine
Mhm.
for our skin, but we still have acne. And we're like, we can't buy that. We don't have the money for that, ma'am.
Yeah, and most of the models in their videos and their photos, most of them are edited. Like
Edited, yeah.
there are so many like I know how to edit out blemishes. Like my mom is a photographer. She literally does that sometimes. And there's ways to make it realistic enough that it actually looks like their skin is
Hmm.
perfect when it's really not.
Yeah, and it goes more in depth, like your diet too. Like, if you eat dairy, you're probably going to have a breakout, or if you're allergic to something, it might cause a breakout.
Yeah, so it's really just the technical stuff. And I think that skincare, and I'm sure that you think that skincare is more just like basic hygiene than anything.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about fads and slang and the things that are overrated. We've talked about zodiac signs and designer brands and new age, and we talked about skincare. But let's go into popular TV shows and movies. What are your thoughts on these popular or pop culture movies and TV shows?
I I'm a sucker for a good TV show, like binge watching for hours. I recently finished this TV show and I was watching it, and it was a great TV show. And then I got to the last season, a new character came, and she was telling us about the spirits and the bad vibes, and I was like, "You just ruined this for me. Excuse you, ma'am." Um, just because another thing I realized is just because it has a rating PG doesn't mean it's PG.
Yeah.
I would never let one of my younger siblings listen to that. TV shows that I think that are really bad, yet we've disguised it to look all fun. Um, Never Have I Ever on Netflix.
Mm,
It's basically just a TV show that a girl is under peer pressure and she makes it look cool. Like, no, it's not a popularity test. Anime, all types of anime. No. Disney Channel, new TVs, shows, and movies are craziness.
what is the new thing? The prom,
Yeah,
whatever.
prom, no. Absolute. It's PG, yet it has sex jokes. I'm like, ew.
Yeah. Um, I'm about to call out some witchcraft in popular TVs and movies. Hocus Pocus.
I used to like Hocus Pocus before I realized like how bad it was, and then I watched the second movie, and they were actually doing real spells behind the camera.
Yeah, like you can go back and like research that. Like they're actually doing witchcraft and satanic worship in a movie, and you're watching that. Um, Harry Potter. Unfortunately, I only allow my siblings to watch the first movie, and even then, we really shouldn't. Um, but all this is to say, like, I don't know if you remember that song from Sunday school where it was like, be careful, little eyes, what you see, be careful, little ears, what you hear.
Hmm.
And the reason behind all this is because what you see opens the door for things to come in.
Yeah.
My mom has this saying, trash in, trash out. Whatever you consume is what you're going to produce. Um, and there's a verse, Romans 12:2, that says, do not conform to the ways of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Basically, what it's saying is like, don't watch what everybody else is watching. Don't do what everybody else is doing. Like, don't just bend to the will of everybody else and all the trends and all the fads and all the popular things, but allow God to really show you what it's like to live freely. Because when you let go of all these things, you're free to like what you want, to say the things that are life giving, to live without the pressure of wanting to be popular, or not even wanting to be popular, but to look nice. Um, and really, it's just, I don't know how to describe it other than God's laws and God's boundaries for our lives. They're not to restrict us, but to set us free. And just to say, hey, you don't need to do any of this stuff.
Hmm.
You can do what I have called you to do, what you think, not what you think is right, but what you know is right. And you can be free from all the baggage that all this stuff brings. Like, it's really true that what you consume is what you will produce.
Yeah. Overall though, we're not saying, hey, don't buy that $1,000 bag. Like, it's okay to spoil yourself. Be reasonable though. If I see someone buy $1,000 bag that's 2 inches wide and 2 inches tall, what are you gonna do? Put a lip gloss in there? Like, it's okay to spoil yourself. It's okay to buy fancy little products for your skin. And it's okay to watch TV shows and movies, but definitely make sure to do your research behind it, because sometimes the enemy will try to like slide in something
Hmm.
without you realizing, and later on your spirit's like, oh crap, like what happened?
Yeah, and I think the last thing that we'll leave you guys with is this thought. The truth will be twisted in a way that
Seems fun.
it seems fun, but it also sounds like truth. Like it will be twisted just enough so that it's not truth, but it sounds like it. And we were looking up some of the craziest things about New Age and zodiac signs and everything that is going on in today's world, and they were there were like Christians who were buying into this. And just filter everything through the Bible. It is literally your manual for everything, and there is no wrong answer in the Bible. All of the Bible is God breathed and God inspired. So there is absolutely nothing in there that contradicts itself or that is not true. So if you find something that doesn't look right, fact check it with the Bible.